What's going on, spiritualites? Welcome back for another video. In this one, I really want to break down the psychology of what it means to start over. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you can always just start over, but what does that truly mean, and how does that affect you as a day trader or as a soon-to-be profitable day trader? So in this video, we'll break down what this week felt like, making that shift from one strategy that I've been working on for so long to another strategy that has been there but has not been practiced and gone through as much back testing as the one that I've been doing now. We'll talk about where my mental game was strong, where I was disciplined, where I was patient, where I was able to make the right decisions. We'll talk about where my mental game slipped, where I had some weaknesses that impacted my trading and eventually me choosing to move on from that strategy. And then we'll talk about the discipline plan moving forward. What do I need to commit to this week and throughout the rest of my weeks working to become profitable in order to stay focused and be successful? And we'll end it with a little bit of encouragement and what we're going to be looking at for next week. Okay, so as I mentioned before, starting the week off with a couple losses always gets you into a mindset that you need to try to get yourself out of. You're working from behind. You're not only trying to fight off playing catch up and being a little bit more risky on your trades, but you're also fighting the battles of the doubts and the uncertainty, and do I think that this is the right path for me type of questions that will come. This week has taken an emotional toll on me, and that's when I really want to get to the breakdown of starting from scratch. Everyone says, hey, you can always start over, but what does it mean? Does it mean that the first one failed? Not necessarily, but it does mean that whatever you were doing was not getting you to success in the way you wanted to get there, and I think that's very important. This last strategy is successful, but the way I use it lends it to have the ability to not be successful. And having so much subjectivity really causes a strategy to lose its value, especially if you're using it in different ways each time. You're not staying consistent because the rules change. I've found those flaws in my strategy and I decided, hey, it has to move on. So I really tried to keep my head up throughout this week, practicing the new strategy, back testing it, really making sure that I stayed confident and I stayed comfortable. I know they say you need to break out of your comfort zone in order to have success, but in trading, at least in this part of trading, it's going to be a little bit of the opposite. You need to be comfortable in the strategies that you are using. So when watching the video, like I do every Sunday from this content creator, I tried one of the ideas in there that I had just seen him using for a long time, and it seemed so simple, and he always said that there's a paid part of the group, so they only get a certain amount of the strategy here. So you're not getting the full thing. So I thought, well, if I don't have the full thing, then it won't work for me. Well, boy, was I wrong. After I tried backtesting this strategy for about a week, I realized this is much more comfortable, and I saw more wins coming from that comfort. Were there losses? Of course, there's going to be losses every time. But from the strategy that I was using, or how I decided to use a portion of what he had been showing me, and something, again, it wasn't new. It wasn't new. I've seen him use it before, but it's my first time using it, so I guess you can consider it new to me. And seeing some of the success that I had in just a first backtesting week, I knew that it was something that I wanted to explore more. Okay, moving on to what it feels like to start this strategy over. It does not feel all the way good. I feel like I'm leaving something behind. I don't know if that's the stubbornness in me of moving forward, or if it's really me saying, hey, you're never going to be profitable from jumping from strategy to strategy to strategy to strategy, right? If I do make the switch, I really want to commit to it, and I don't want to change it for at least a 3-month period. If I don't give it 3 full months, then I feel like I'm not really trying it and I'm just moving on. So going into it and actually making the jump and switching strategies is feeling a little bit uneasy, but when I do use the strategy and I'm backtesting it on the chart is where I feel comfort and I gain confidence. Okay, moving on to where I had strong mental game. With this new strategy, I can be patient and I know exactly what I'm looking for, so I don't feel like I'm forcing anything. So when I'm backtesting, I really am going through it easy and, like I said multiple times before, comfortable. When I'm going through these backtesting sessions, I have a way that I set up my chart. I go about it in a certain way. I have patience. I wait to see what I want to see. And that patience leads to consistency, consistent gains, consistent wins, which really helps add to my confidence. A little bit of the weak mental side. So there was a point in time where I was getting down after my losses. And then I had a streak where I lost, like, I think 7 in a row. It was before I made the addition of the Fibonacci tool. So there are times where these back tests will get you a little bit down just because you're been going at it for so long and you're trying new things and you're trying to figure out how to give yourself an edge, that if you do lose a few in a row, it gets a little bit discouraging. So that's where I think I need to tweak a little bit and realize, like, hey, losing streaks will happen, but it's all part of the game. Giving into temptation is another weak mental point of mine. So there will be setups where it looks like, hey, you shouldn't take this trade, or you know about this rule, but it's been a while, or really trying to make up for those losses that you've had in the past. I even had this in my live trading this past week on the Wednesday on Fed Day, where I knew I shouldn't be taking a trade, but I gave into the temptation anyway. Took the trade and ended up losing. So weak mental moments, mental lapses, mental slip-ups, whatever you want to call them, need to be minimized as best as possible moving forward. So what I learned about myself this week, I'd say I need to be more vigilant of my emotions and how they get to where they get to. Because once they get there, that's the problem. Now, if I can stop them, or if I can notice certain behaviors when they are getting to be, let's say, impatient, for example, I want it to be so that I have a feeling, and as soon as I get that feeling, I know, okay, it's time to step away, or it's time to do something in order to get away from making a bad decision. So the first thing I've noticed is when I write something down before the trade, I actually make better decisions. When I take notes about the market structure or take notes about my bias, and I have those in front of me and I can focus on those, then a lot of the slop or a lot of the analysis doesn't get overanalyzed because I realize what I'm supposed to be focused on. So before, I would have a bias. I'd set up the charts, go through everything, and before I know it, I'm trying to take a trade in the opposite way of my bias. What I can do as far as a discipline plan in order to be more successful in these areas is when I start to feel some of those emotions coming before a bad decision is made, I will take a break and have a 5 to 10 minute conversation with my wife. She's always down to talk, and it may last for a little bit longer than those 5 to 10 minutes, but the idea is to get me out of the emotional state that I'm in so that when I come back to the charts, I'm not eager to make any bad decisions and I can come at it with a clear mind. Second thing that I've done, I've already started to implement, but I really need to focus more on, will be to take notes on the market and other factors of my trading strategy before I get into a trade. That way I can stay focused on my bias. I can make sure that I always have the information in front of me that is pertinent to the situation that I'm trading in. If I don't have that, then that's how, again, bad decisions are made. I think I'm starting to notice a theme here, which is avoid bad decisions. Okay, and so for a little encouragement for you guys, don't be afraid to start over. Do what feels comfortable and keep adding until it doesn't. So you have to have some way that you're getting an edge over the rest of the market participants, and doing the same generic things that other people are doing will not give you that edge. But if you pull a generic piece from this person, and you pull a generic piece from that person, and you pull a generic piece from the third person, and you put it all together, now you may have a unique set of rules that works for you. Just make sure that whenever you do choose to start over, that you have a goal in mind and you stick to that goal. I don't recommend giving up on a strategy that often, but if you're starting to notice some of your old patterns and some of the ways that you ended up losing money the first time around or the second time around or any previous time that you've tried before this, then I do believe a shift needs to be made. So being self-aware, knowing what your downfalls are, and noticing when you start to get back into those patterns will help you avoid them for the future. Also, this is one of the few hobbies or ways of making money that you can literally try whatever strategy you want without investing any money in the idea. So backtest, backtest, backtest until you are comfortable. And once you're comfortable, then you can take it to the charts. I'm going to try this week to not get too ahead of myself. by slapping the strategy on the chart and going right at it. Like I said, I'm going to give it some time, keep back testing, keep using my old strategy, and see where the two may be able to intermingle in order to give me the best edge that I can get on the market. With that being said, please keep in mind, this is not financial advice. It's for educational purposes only. Before you begin investing and or trading your hard-earned money, consider consulting a financial advisor. And just remember, this is the journey, not the highlight reel. Trade smart, live free.